Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Did You Hear About This? I'm Bill.
I am Scott.
How you doing, buddy?
A little weird. This whole Christmas on Wednesday was weird, right? It wasn't just me.
I'm completely lost on what day it was.
Yeah. Like as laid back as I like to think I am, I realize I'm much more a creature of habit and structure, because I feel like I went and had like a 2-day work week, and then I had a day off, and then I had 2 more days. Now it's the weekend, and my motivation's just been shit. And I've been tired, and the weather's been dreary, and it's just been weird. Not that it like ruined my life or anything. Like, I'm still functioning at a 7 out of 10, but just off.
Yeah, this is me all the time.
All right, then business as usual.
Yeah,
huh?
business as usual for me. I don't know what day. The only way that I know what day it is because of the days that we record.
Yeah.
That helps me stay balanced because I just have one of those jobs where I work from home most of the time and everything just runs together.
Now, see, we were going to record this on Thursday, and I texted you, and I was like, yeah, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm at work. I'm tired. Come 6:30, I'm just going to be pissed off. I'm not going to want to do a show. And if I do a show, it's not going to be a good show. I kind of woke up here Saturday morning just as tired as I was then, so I don't know what the answer is.
I know. I always say to you, oh, I'd like doing Saturday morning. I'm a little bit more alert. Not today. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You know what? I know exactly why. It's the reason I gained like 20 pounds since our last show. I got hooked on fucking eggnog.
Oh, no.
I drank everything you brought over, and then we went to the store and said, hey, let's get some more. That was good.
Holy shit.
It's a lot of weight I think I put on.
So you were hooked on nog. You've been nogging it since last Saturday.
Now I'm dumping it all in the trash. Now that the holiday is over, I'm like, no more.
Amy just offered me some kind of peppermint nog.
Yeah, I know. She had that hidden. I thought we had all of it out of the house. So now that I know it's here, I got to do my best to avoid it.
Wow. And up to this point, you were just drinking convenience store nog with no alcohol?
Until you brought that stuff over, I haven't had eggnog in years.
Shit. Well, I'm sorry I started that train.
And then I remembered how good it is. And it's just the most fattening thing in the world.
Well, it was good, but it definitely did pack a punch.
You were saying upstairs after the last show where you brought the alcoholic eggnog, I had to go to bed. I went to bed and I woke up with a hangover at like 6 p.m.
You texted me saying that there should be a warning label. This is going to make you feel yucky.
Yeah, more than yucky.
I spent some time in the bathroom. I joked about lactose intolerance. I may not have been kidding.
Wow, you might have found out that you have. Now you know why you avoided eggnog all this time.
Or it was the quart of alcohol that we consumed with the cream and the egg.
Yeah, how much alcohol was in it? Do you remember?
They were like 15%.
All right,
it was like a regular wine.
Okay, that's why we got drunk.
Yeah, that's behind us now, huh?
I don't know. I'm still hungover. I still feel like I'm 1,000 pounds.
It's a gateway drink.
It sure is, man. Yeah, Amy took some of it. She mixed it with some vanilla ice cream. It tasted exactly like an eggnog McDonald's milkshake with alcohol. I was like, this is the best.
Did anybody try it with coffee?
No.
Okay. So that mystery still remains.
We'll have to wait till next year to try that.
Not too far away.
No, I mean next holiday.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought you meant in 3 days.
Well, aside from that, what else is going on in your world?
Not a whole lot. Christmas was a success. I mean, kids were happy. I may have mentioned on here the big family gift was a new PC.
There you go.
And I say a new PC. We were just operating off of laptops before that, but now we have like the one PC in the corner.
Right. Well, your son wants to get into PC gaming.
Yeah.
So you had to get a beast.
Yeah. When I left, he was set up in the corner. I just set it up last night. But I did the whole grand reveal. I took a page out of the old man's book from A Christmas Story. They opened up all their presents, and then we're like, hey, you get everything you wanted? Well, almost. I was like, whoa, what's that gift over there behind the chair? Like, it's a giant box over there. Whipped out the surprise present.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Was your daughter into it too, or is it only Chase?
Nah, she was into it because she's been playing Roblox, which is a big game that the kids play. But she only played it on her cell phone. He plays it on his Xbox, but this is really the first console-ish, non-phone video game thing that she has access to without fighting with her brother for his Xbox.
Your kids get along really well.
When they want to.
They seem to, anyway.
Yeah, until they don't.
When we're around, they get along well. Man, I remember because Cora and Chase, I have a brother and a sister.
Yeah,
so
you have 3.
I mean, we fought like cats and dogs. I've never seen your kids fight.
Yeah, they don't like fight. They'll get into stupid arguments and just yell. They get more annoying than they do fighting.
Well, that can make Christmas stressful. I didn't get what I wanted. He got what he wanted. All sorts of drama.
There was none of that. And the weird thing is, like, nobody wanted anything other than gift cards for video games. Like, if we would have got them what they wanted, it would have been a very boring Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
Video games, that's still everything to these kids.
Xbox gift cards and Robux gift cards and MetaQuest gift cards. Like, it's like all they wanted.
What are Robux gift cards?
It's for that Roblox game. It's basically just in-game credits.
So this is all like Dogecoin and Bitcoin.
Well, no, it's not like crypto, but it's video game currency, basically.
Yeah, my kid's, oh my God, my kid is almost 21. And he's still, he was all about video games when he was a kid. And that's all there was. Now that's still all there is. I hope kids are going outside.
You know what, though? Thinking back to my Christmases when I was a kid, after I got the NES, all I wanted were more NES games.
I think video games are addictive.
Yeah.
Like truly addictive, and we're not really facing that.
I mean, I'm playing a video game as we speak right now that I've been playing for the past 8 years.
You actually are. How are you tuned into doing the show and still playing a game? I can't do that.
I don't know. Am I pulling it off?
Yes. I had no idea you were playing a game.
Because I've been playing it for 8 years and it's just all rote memory at this point. I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing.
What game is it?
Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes on the mobile phone.
One of those role-playing games?
No, it's more like a collector game. Like you collect all your heroes, you power up your heroes, you fight people.
Yeah, that might be an addiction. That was so funny.
It's a lot like Raid Shadow Legends that you see advertised at like every single YouTube video you've ever watched.
Yeah. I don't know.
A Star Wars version of that.
I still just play that Tarkov game, so I'm so out of touch with everything else.
Yeah, but when you stopped playing for those few months, you were fiending. You went right back to it. So they're definitely addictive.
I know they are. I know they are. People don't really talk about that, but they definitely are addictive. Just like social media. Social media is completely addictive.
Well, remember like Farmville when it was social media video games?
Oh my
It was like a double duty. I never got into that shit.
Yeah, me neither, luckily.
Like Angry Birds was the first mobile game I got into, and then Candy Crush. But like even older people, like non-gamers, got hooked on that shit.
There's probably still people hooked on Candy Crush.
Oh, there are.
Really?
100%.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I don't know how we got onto that topic.
Because that's all my kids want.
Yeah.
Because they're junkies.
I think all kids are junkies now.
Yeah, I mean, but when we were kids, the video games weren't as social as what they are now. Like a lot of their gaming is gaming with kids that they go to school with, kids that they're on basketball and sports teams with. So it is more of a social thing now because of internet gaming and co-op and multiplayer and all that. Before it was like you and maybe two friends in your basement playing on a console, passing the controllers around. So it's a lot more of a social thing and less of an antisocial thing than it was when we were kids.
I do remember when my kid was maybe 13 or so, and my ex-wife were trying to co-parent together, and I'm like, he's got to get out of the house. It's too much video games, too much, coming from a kid, me, who's addicted to video games himself, or at least was. And she looked at me, and she was in agreement, but she goes, but you know what? Like, all his friends are just stuck on video. She's like, this is how they socialize now.
Yeah, who's he going to go outside and play with? The kids that he's playing Xbox with right now that aren't going to go outside? He's going to go outside by himself.
Yeah. And stand there by himself.
Yeah.
Go, I wish I was playing with my friends.
Standing in a field. Boy, I'm a loser.
So I made the comment just a few minutes ago, like, oh, I hope kids are going outside and playing. But now I sound like my father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn kids.
No, like on the MetaQuest thing, they play Gorilla Tag, which is like game of the year this year, apparently. And I said to them, I remember when I actually went outside and played real tag. They didn't get what I was talking about.
I was going to say, they have no idea what you mean. Physical activity.
And like the other video games they play on MetaQuest are hide and seek. And I was like, that's a thing you can play in real life, hide and seek. Why aren't you playing that in real life? And with who? Everybody's on MetaQuest.
It's like Duck, Duck, Goose. You can do it in real life. You can put on a headset to do Duck, Duck, Goose.
Yeah.
I did get a new game. I got that Indiana Jones.
Oh, the giant circle or Circle of Fate?
Circle something. Circle
Jerk?
The Great Circle. And I'll tell you, it's pretty cool. It feels like it's Tomb Raider.
Okay.
But I got seasick. I literally got motion sickness playing it. I took about 3 or 4 stabs at it, and by about an hour, I'm like, oh, I feel yucky.
Wait, and this is on a monitor?
Yeah, it's on PC. That's what I'm playing.
How would you get seasick from that. You know what? I got that way from playing too much GoldenEye 007 back in the day on N64, though.
This is like that.
Really?
Yeah. I never got seasick playing a game, but yeah, I was getting kind of ill.
I refuse to try their MetaQuest. I know I do get motion sick. So I refuse to even try that.
I do have one of the older MetaQuests, and I play this game, Beat Saber.
Oh, they have that.
Oh, it's a great game.
They're like, you'd love it. I'm like, yeah. And I'd be living in the bathroom.
And you get seasick. I get seasick doing that too. I guess it just takes practice.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
The funny thing about these games is they all completely rip off each other. So
for sure.
Marvel Rivals is a complete ripoff of a game called Overwatch that got real big for a few years.
Yeah.
And they weren't even shy about it. They're like, we're just going to rip off Overwatch. Indiana Jones is a ripoff of Tomb Raider. They're not even shy about it. It's almost an identical game.
But, I mean, I feel it's not at all that much evolved from Call of Duty that we played back in the day and Halo before that. It's all run around and beat people up and shoot people and capture the flag and all that same bullshit. They really didn't move the needle that much.
You're right. Not really.
Yeah.
What's been the last like crazy breakthrough of a new game? Like they're all kind of copies.
People
want
to lose their fucking mind over Fortnite, and Fortnite is just
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, and you could, for a hot minute, you could build structures to hide behind. But then they even took that part out of the game at one point. So I don't even know how it's any different than anything we've been playing since we first met.
Yeah. I just can't play any games where it's all squeaky kids on the microphone.
Today, when he started playing Fortnite on there, was when he realized, hey, this thing doesn't have any speakers. I was like, yeah, good. Well, other than that, what have you been up to?
Good segue. That was a nice, sharp segue. You're like, I'm done with this conversation.
I got nothing more to say.
Yeah. No, nothing else. I'm watching that What If show.
Oh, I started watching What If. It's awful.
It stinks.
Yeah. I think they always were. I just think I was a little bit more hyped up on Marvel back when it first came out.
Well, you were talking about there's a series of 5 one-off books of Marvel meets Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
And then episode 1, and the one was like Hulk fights Godzilla. And episode 1 of What If this season is Hulk becomes Godzilla and fights the Avengers, who are now magically Voltron.
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then, as stupid as I thought episode 1 was, episode 2 is Agatha Harkness in 1920s Hollywood meets Kamal Nanjiani's character from The Eternals, and it's like a 1920 Hollywood versus Bollywood dance-off. I'm like, even Jenna walked in, she goes, what the fuck are you watching? And I said, I honestly have no idea what I'm watching right now.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's stupid. And then there was a couple other ones in there that, again, didn't do anything for me. And then we have that Darcy girl that was the assistant to Thor's girlfriend, has a baby with Howard the Duck?
Right.
Who gives a shit?
That's what the show should be called.
Yeah, it shouldn't be What If. It should be called Who Gives a Shit?
Yeah, it's throwaway characters you didn't care about in the first place, and they're making new adventures with them. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, I don't care about any of these people. Give me Captain America. Give me Iron Man. We still have stories to tell with the main characters, but they just need to be using these side characters that I don't give a shit about. So it's a real bummer for me.
The one that was somewhat entertaining and it just went on too long was the Winter Soldier teams up with the Crimson Guardian, yeah. And they ended up in Las Vegas.
I kind of like that one.
That was like an okay episode. But they revisited what would have happened if the Winter Soldier didn't kill the Starks in the car the way that he did in the cinematic universe.
Right.
So it was interesting. One of them. One of what, 5? One of 4?
Yeah, and barely interesting.
It was bad. And here's my theory on the whole thing. I think they went and got all the voice actors from people that are never going to be in another Marvel movie and were like, hey, you want to voice this character again? Okay, we're going to write a story around that. So we have Catherine Hahn and we have Kamal Nanjiani. How do we mesh them up? Okay, here's a shit story, but it fits the bill. Here we go. Because the story's, again, who gives a shit?
I always think it's interesting listening to the actors they get, and they're the actors, like you said, usually they're the actors from the cinematic universe. They're terrible voice actors.
I don't know if it was David Harbour for the Crimson Guardian.
Oh, it wasn't?
I don't know. It could have been.
Thought it was.
Maybe.
Which I'm loving him as Frankenstein in that Creatures Commando.
I haven't watched it yet.
He's good at that too.
Oh, man.
But yeah, they're not good cartoon actors. They're fine actors in front of the camera, but put them in a sound studio and they don't sound
It is funny how different that has to be a voice actor versus an actor. It just shows you how much they rely on their physical being, and their voice just doesn't carry the weight that their acting does.
Yeah. Talk about, you know what I did watch? That Transformers 1.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It's already out on streaming. Like, it was a complete bomb.
I didn't know it ever came to the theater. This is the one where Thor's voicing, like Hemsworth is voicing
Yeah, Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime, but not Optimus Prime because they're still on
Cybertron.
Cybertron, that's what I can think of. Yeah.
Oh, but by the end, a little bit of a spoiler on it. By the end, basically it's the evolution of Megatron and Optimus Prime growing up.
Right.
They grow up awfully fast in this thing. So by the end, you get Thor doing an American accent, which is already a little bit interesting. And then he tries to get that Peter Cullen voice.
No.
This is Optimus Prime. You know, you hear him try to do it, and it's just awful. He's like, roll out. And I'm like, but it doesn't sound right. It sounds like a guy doing a bad impression. Right. So, yeah, they wanted a marquee name, but he wasn't a great voice for this character.
They didn't have a strong enough story, so they got the marquee name to make it worthwhile.
I think it's the old rule of Hollywood: get a big name and make more money. And I told you a couple episodes ago, maybe it was even last episode, I don't think that's the play anymore. I don't think people are that loyal to their favorite actors anymore.
I think back to some of my favorite cartoons, and those people were not famous for anything other than those cartoons, except for maybe Mark Hamill.
Talk about Mark Hamill a little later.
Oh, all right.
Well, how about we pivot to what we're really here to talk about today?
Okay.
I didn't even call it out at the head of the show. I always forget to do that. So we're going to talk, before we get to the news, we're going to talk about Action Park. We have actually talked about it briefly in the past.
We've mentioned it in passing for sure.
But I always think about Action Park. To this day, I still think fondly of Action Park. When I was a kid living in Warminster, Pennsylvania, I remember commercials. I vividly remember commercials for Action Park and always going, that's the coolest place on earth. Fuck Disney World. I want to go to Action Park.
Yeah. I mean, if Disney World's the most magical place on earth and Hershey is the sweetest place on earth, Action Park is the most dangerous place on earth.
All right, so what are we talking about? We're talking about Action Park, founded in Vernon, New Jersey, by Gene Mulville, a businessman with a vision of a self-controlled amusement park experience. Do you know what you're a big amusement park guy. Have you ever heard of a self-controlled experience?
Well, his whole theory, this started off, he owned a ski resort. Of course, very popular in the wintertime, but once the snow goes away, what are you going to do? So he put in like this alpine coaster thing. It's almost like a bobsled. His whole thing was like, yeah, part of the fun of skiing is you could fall down and hurt yourself, and if you're not skilled enough to do it, then you're going to go to like the slower hills. You're not going to go as fast down the hill. So this is like the alpine coaster was the equivalent of skiing without snow, basically. So yeah, if you hurt yourself, it's kind of on you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So Action Park I have here is a combination of thrill rides and motorized attractions designed to let guests control the speed and intensity of their own experiences.
Yeah. Now, I went on a mountain coaster maybe 5 years ago down in Tennessee. And you control the brake. Like, it's all gravity fed. Like, they crank you to the top of a hill, and you sit on this cart, and you can, like, control how fast you're going by a handbrake. And it's basically a more modern version of what this alpine coaster was at Action Park, the very first ride they put in Action Park. Now, the difference being you were strapped into a seat. There was a high harness in the back, so if the thing would tip over or kick off the track, you weren't going to clunk your head on a rock and die like people did. Spoiler. Baseline, same idea, just safer.
Well, not really safer.
No?
I mean, well, not with what these guys are doing.
Oh, no. But what they have now, what I rode 5 years ago, was safer than what they were doing.
Safer probably because the people who made the ride that you went on weren't these guys.
They may have been engineers.
Yeah, it says many of the rides were designed in-house by Mulville and his team. Actually, it's Mulvihill. Mulvihill and his team, often without professional engineers. This led to experimental high-risk attractions that prioritize thrills over safety. So it's basically this guy going, hey, I want to make these rides myself. I don't have any experience making these safely or making these at all.
Right.
So we're just going to make an entire park, I almost called it a theme park, an amusement park, based on homemade contraptions by this guy.
Physics didn't come into the idea process. Yeah, and then like after the success of the Alpine Coaster, he did make it more of a year-round park to get it more into the summertime when it was really hot out. He added 2 water slides. And they were very much just like the Alpine slide, only with water.
Yeah, those commercials that I vividly remember, there was a wave thing.
A wave pool?
A wave pool. We'll get into this a little bit more, but they called that the grave pool. I mean, in their marketing, they weren't saying we're dangerous. You know, that reputation just kind of built because of how many people got hurt at this place.
Sure.
People got hurt all the time.
Oh, yeah. The infamous names were more commonly known than the names of the actual rides. And when this all started off, it was the Vernon Valley Ski Resort. And then after he added some pools and some tennis courts and some go-karts, that's when they changed the name to Action Park. That was like in 1980, 81.
I like this note here. Minimal oversight from staff meant visitors often ignored safety instructions, leading to chaotic and dangerous situations.
Oh, for sure.
There's accounts of the kids who worked here, just teenagers.
Yeah.
Being drunk and high and like not even doing their job because the place was just so off the rails.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like you are about to die. You're on a ride. You're going down way too fast. You spin out of control. You smash into rocks. And these kids are just, I mean, it's like the Friday the 13th story where the camp counselors were too busy fucking around and not paying attention to Jason who was drowning in the lake.
It's identical to that for sure.
Really kind of is. So Action Park actually attracted over 1 million visitors annually during the 1980s.
Yeah, but I read some controversy about this.
Ooh.
There was really no official record. Mulvihill claimed that they attracted over 1 million customers a season, but he did so, in theory, allegedly, to make the amount of injuries and fractures and lawsuits and deaths seem like a nominal number. Like, oh yeah, there were these accidents and these things, these events that occurred, but out of 1 million people, the percentage is so low. But the 1 million was probably made up to offset how many people were actually getting seriously maimed and injured at this park.
Yeah. And to think about it, there were lawsuits, right? We're going to talk about it in a moment. There were deaths, but, and there is actually, if you go on Max, there's a documentary on this park.
Yeah, Class Action Park.
Right. And one of the things I remember them saying on that show is like one of the loop-de-loop rides, they would have a kid who worked there at the end of the day go up and get the teeth out of this loop-de-loop because everybody would bang their head into the top of the loop-de-loop slide. And a couple, sometimes kids would lose their tooth stuck to the damn loop-de-loop internal guts or whatever. So these kids would just go up and like pull the teeth and like hide all this evidence, but why weren't there more lawsuits? Kids were coming home beaten the fuck up. How come there weren't tons of lawsuits?
Well, I actually got a little bit into some of the rides that they had there. I don't know how much you got into that.
No, it's perfect. Let's talk about it.
So after the name change, after they really got put on the map, they were doing pretty well. There were about 75 rides and attractions at Action Park.
Oh, damn.
40 of them were water slides, water-based things. So they really billed themselves as the world's largest water park. And yeah, the one you're talking about here, the loop-de-loop.
The Cannonball Loop.
It was called the Cannonball Loop, like you said. And this is the most infamous of all the Action Park rides that they had. It's a giant tube slide, like you said, like a tube water slide like you'd see at any water park today, only it just went straight down, and then there was like this vertical loop, almost like a roller coaster would have at the bottom of it. And like you said earlier, this was not built by an engineer. I say it's the most infamous because if you look at YouTube, if you look anywhere, every single thumbnail, picture, book cover, video cover has this fucking slide picture on it.
It'll probably be the thumbnail I'm going to use too.
I was just going to say, hint, hint, Bill. Like, you're just going to blend in with the rest of them. But yeah, it's reported that test dummies used during the building process and the testing phases would exit the ride just completely dismembered, decapitated, no head on the dummy. And Mulvihill actually would pay, he offered to pay employees hundreds of dollars to be the first one to go down. His son, Andrew, who fast forward eventually ends up owning the park, he was the first person to go down the Cannonball Loop. He did so in full hockey gear and came out the other end to tell the story. But yeah, to your point, bloody noses were not uncommon. If you were too heavy, you wouldn't go all the way around the loop. If you were too light, you wouldn't go all the way around the loop. They had to build an escape hatch at the top of the loop so that when people got stuck up there, they would pull them out. And yeah, the story you said about the teeth, what would happen is you go straight down, you go flying up, and you would smash your face on the top of the loop. And teeth were embedded in there. People were coming out with lacerations, and they couldn't figure out what is sharp in there that or people are cutting themselves on. It was other previous riders' teeth embedded in the fiberglass.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. The internal guts. I didn't know what it was made of. Fiberglass.
Yeah. The other thing about the Cannonball Loop, it was only open for 1 month.
Oh, really?
It got shut down. It was the one time that an inspector came in and shut a ride down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Only open for 1 month, but still, in that 1 month, caused a lot of pain, a lot of bloody faces, a lot of back problems, and apparently a lot of dismembered test dummies.
I can't believe they even said, let's open it. Look at all these flying heads of test dummies. That's safe for the people. I mean, what recklessness. And I know it's the 80s. Look, my parents weren't paying attention to what I was doing. So I know that's why a lot of kids were out there, at Action Park were doing what they were doing. Their parents weren't really paying that kind of attention. That's got to be the reason there weren't so many lawsuits.
Well, their whole thing was, this is where you control the action. You make the rules. They weren't there to tell you what you can and can't do. So, like, chaos reigned.
Yeah, it's like Pleasure Island on is that the name of the Pinocchio?
Yeah.
Where there's no parents?
It was. And they all became jackasses.
Where did the parents go? The parents dropped
They were
them.
drunk at the beer garden.
Ah, this sounds great. Would this be something you'd go to? When I was a kid, this looked amazing to me. I wanted to go so bad.
I would
This sounds
probably
exactly.
be too afraid. And the crazy thing is, once these stories started coming out about Action Park and about how dangerous it was, it only grew the legend. More kids wanted to go. It became a rite of passage to get your face smacked off of a fucking rock at Action Park. It was like a scar. It was a badge of honor.
Yeah, I was one of those kids that would have.
See, I'm not. I wouldn't have been one of those kids. I would have been like, oh, these other kids here are assholes. I don't like this.
Oh, I would have jumped. I would have been on that loop, losing my teeth.
So here's some other rides I have. And I've never been to Action Park, as I said, but I have been on some of these attractions and rides at other amusement parks. So I'll go through. Let me know if you ever rode on these. There were battle tanks. There were two ways that battle tanks work. You could wait in line to actually pilot a battle tank, and you would like drive around for 5 minutes, and you had a cannon that would shoot tennis balls. Apparently shot tennis balls at about 90 miles an hour. Or around the cage, there were stationary turrets that also fired tennis balls. And the whole idea was if you shot a tennis ball and hit a target on the tank would become disabled for like 15 seconds, I think it was. And of all the rides that I'm going to list here, it was one of the safer ones. The problem with it was if you were a mechanic or a maintenance worker that had to go out there and repair a tank or get a tank unstuck from where it's at, it was like the guy driving around the golf driving range with the golf cart getting pelted with golf balls. These people were getting pelted with like 90-mile-an-hour tennis balls. So the workers hated the battle tanks.
I've done something like this.
I've done this one at Dorney Park.
Is that where they had it?
Yeah.
Which is close to us. Yeah, I remember you describing that is exactly what I remember experiencing. Standing outside with guns, shooting the people who were inside doing the...
And later on, they had battle boats on the Jersey Shore. At Maury's Pier, they had battle boats that did the same thing.
Yeah. See, that's what I grew up with. Same as you, I bet. The New Jersey Pier, the New Jersey Beach rides, those were pretty dangerous too sometimes.
But they were like carny rides that you didn't expect people to be safe at. You weren't paying to go to an amusement... Like, if I go to an amusement park now, I'm like, oh, this has been tested. This is regulated. This is safe. Not the case.
Mm-mm.
Go-karts, we all have been on go-karts at various places. Well, their go-karts had a regulator that would only allow them to go about 20 miles an hour until an employee realized that if you wedge a tennis ball down the regulator, it maxes them out at about 50 miles an hour.
So what did he do? He just...
So there's tennis balls right there getting shot from the cannons. So they grabbed them, wedged one down the regulator. These things were going 50 miles an hour, leading to many a head-on collision. And one of the go-karts was actually reportedly taken, not reportedly, this is factual. He took it off the go-kart track and raced it on the nearby highway, leading to a police chase.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's great.
They had bumper boats. This is the first place I believe that had that slingshot ride where they pull you down and launch you straight up in the air.
Yeah.
Like many the YouTube videos show somebody like passing out while they're getting shot up. This is the first place that had that. They had bungee jumping. And then they had a section called the Gladiator Obstacle Course, which was loosely based on American Gladiators. So there was jousting. There was the gauntlet you had to like run through. They had like action park gladiators.
No shit.
Yeah.
I have here the Tarzan swing. A lot of people would swing into and it wasn't even like a pool. It was a lake. It was a dirty lake.
It was a mountain-fed stream, and the water didn't get above 50 degrees.
It didn't look that clean. Yeah, and people would swing into this frozen, water and have hypothermia instantly.
Another fun fact about the rope swing or the Tarzan swing, men would drop their drawers and women would flash their boobs midair to other guests waiting in line. So this is just a debaucherous scene all around.
It's definitely my kind of scene.
Now, most of these rides were definitely dangerous, but the water rides were the most deadly, especially the wave pool, as you mentioned. The grave pool, as it became known. 12 lifeguards on duty would rescue up to 30 park guests per day on a busy summer day.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, that wave pool, I remember seeing the commercials for it and just thinking it was so cool. When I went to Pittsburgh to see my cousins, I think it was like Kennywood.
Kennywood is the location of the very first roller coaster, I believe, in America.
Really?
Yeah.
I know they had the fastest wooden roller coaster for a minute.
Yeah. That may have been the first one.
So this might be a false memory. Maybe it wasn't Kennywood. Maybe Kennywood didn't have a grave pool, or they call it a wave pool. But I remember loving that so much. That wave would come on and you would just try to surf it. And there's other people just kind of enjoying their time. And we were like sharks in those waves trying to take people out.
Yeah.
And there were times, my cousin, I swear to God, he would take the wave, he'd go and he'd try to pull the bikinis off the girls. Like, we were assholes like that.
Yeah, this was your scene here. Like, this was your scene for sure.
It was such a different fucking time. And I remember watching, like, all of a sudden, it's like a shark taking a person down. All of a sudden, the person's just standing there. My cousin took him down with the wave.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I was in a wave pool. I've been in several wave pools. There's one at Hershey Park now, but the first one I ever went in was Dorney Park Wildwater Kingdom again, and they had several deaths in their wave pool, I believe.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, I mean, people aren't strong swimmers, and you think you're just out there like bobbing around, and if you're not a strong swimmer, you can get swept out there pretty quick. One of my favorite things here, I got cliff jumping. So there were two options for cliff jumping. You could jump off 18-foot height or 23-foot height, and you would dive into a 16-foot pool, which in and of itself, relatively safe. The problem was the 16-foot pool down below, it was used for regular swimming. So people didn't know, and people just jump on top of people swimming down below. So this is like you and your cousins in the wave pool.
How about the Alpine slide, a concrete track for sleds, often called a ski slope in the summer, notorious for injuries? I think that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, that actually caused their first death at Action Park.
You want to talk about deaths?
Go ahead.
All right. 6 known fatalities from the research that I did.
Yes, 6.
6. All right. 1980, George Larson Jr. died after being thrown from the Alpine slide and hitting his head on rocks.
Died like 8 days later, never came out of his coma.
Ugh. So no belt, right? This thing is just like you sit on this bobsled and it goes down a concrete chute, right? Anything can go wrong here.
And here's something funny too. The chute was concrete. Another source I read said it was made out of concrete, fiberglass, and asbestos. I don't know the reality of that, but that was one of the reports I read.
Well, if the rocks don't kill you, the cancer will.
Right.
Wow, they did everything wrong.
Everything.
1982, a 15-year-old boy drowned in the tidal wave pool.
Yep.
1982, a 27-year-old man was electrocuted in the kayak experience after falling out of his kayak and contacting exposed wiring underwater.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
They used fans or water pumps that were, of course, powered by electricity to create the kayak rapids or the kayak currents. And yeah, his kayak turned over, or capsized, I guess they say. He got out to right it and get back into it, and he stepped on a exposed wire.
Isn't that like having a toaster in a bathtub? Like,
very much so.
Shouldn't all the water been shocking him?
I don't know. Apparently he stepped not on the wire, but on a grate that covered one of the pumps or one of the fans that caused the current. So yeah, he died of heart failure, basically.
In 1984, a 20-year-old man drowned in the tidal wave pool, overwhelmed by the strong waves and overcrowding. 1987, a teenage boy drowned in the tidal wave pool, marking the 3rd fatality at this attraction.
When we say tidal wave pool, do you know how big this tidal wave pool was?
I'm guessing it was bigger than the one I experienced in Pittsburgh.
The story I read said it could fit anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people at a time.
Yeah, that's massive.
It's insane. Yeah, and that same story talked about how Mulvihill viewed Action Park and like kind of like that self-regulated fun you were talking about, that self-regulated park. He viewed it as somebody going to the beach. Like if you're a strong swimmer, you don't go out as far. It's on you. Like yeah, there's lifeguards. We're there. We can rescue you, but we're not there to tell you what you can and can't do. Which isn't at all what lifeguards do. They tell you where you can play ball. They'll tell you, hey, come back in. The lifeguards do regulate.
Yeah, it's true. But that is such a 1980s way of thinking.
Yeah.
Do it at your own risk.
Part of the fun was the danger.
Yeah, it was kind of. And then the last one we got here, 1984, a guest suffered a fatal heart attack after reportedly experiencing the freezing water of the Tarzan swing.
Yeah, it sent him into cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
He dropped in that 50-degree water, and his body just freaked out.
It may have even been colder. I mean, sometimes it was 50 degrees. I'm sure there was days where it was much colder.
The local ER reported that they would treat anywhere from 5 to 10 park guests on busy days. They actually had to buy more ambulances to keep up with how many people they were carting back and forth between Action Park and the hospital.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Here's something fucking fascinating to me. This is the part, when I hear stories like this, I'm just like, dude, what? You're a maniac. You were going to get caught. All right. Fake insurance company.
Not fake. He founded his own insurance company.
He founded his own, yeah. Action Park faced mounting lawsuits due to frequent injuries and deaths. So it made it really hard for him to get insurance. So what did Gene Mulvihill do? How do you say
Mulvihill.
Mulvihill do? He created a fake insurance company called London and World Assurance Limited, purportedly based in the Cayman Islands to cover the park's liability claims. The company was entirely fraudulent, existing solely on paper, and allowed the park to operate without legitimate coverage.
Yeah, he had other real insurance companies like underwrite his fake insurance.
It's amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah.
So you're doing bad shit.
Nothing about this can he say that he didn't know.
Well, it looks like in 1996 it all caught up to him. So closure in 1996, financial struggles and increasing lawsuits forced Action Park to shut down.
Well, that's just it. It didn't catch up with him. Financially, he got shut down. Nobody forced him to close. He just couldn't afford to do it anymore.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like there was no regulators that stepped in and was like, oh, you're killing people. Don't do that. They were just like, oh, hey, you don't have any more money to keep doing this. And his whole thing with the lawsuits and all that, never settle, only pay when you were found liable for it. And he did have some charges of like neglect and things like that, but he would never settle out of court. And at one point they said that he had somewhere over 2,000 open litigation cases, claims against him.
2,000?
For injury, yeah.
Oh, that's a totally different story. All right, so people really were suing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because in my head, it's like clearly people weren't pressing this guy's, nuts to the fire very hard. But 2,000 lawsuits? Could you imagine the stress of waking up every day and being like, well, I got 2,000 lawsuits on me here.
No, I could not imagine that at all.
Let's go to work. Let's build a loop-de-loop. So closed in 1996, reopened as the Mountain Creek Water Park in 1998. Later, the Action Park name briefly returned in 2014.
Yes.
So this thing has been kicking for a bit.
Well, here's what happened. It was closed in 96, reopened in 98 as Mountain Creek
Water Park.
Mountain Creek Water Park. They had it going for a few years, and then they sold it back to the Mulvihill family in 2012. His son took over after Eugene Mulvihill died in 2014, renamed it Action Park, ran it that way for 2 years, like fueled solely by nostalgia, like many of the movies we talk about on here. Nothing good of it, just nostalgia. And then they renamed it Mountain Creek Water Park again to kind of distance itself once like all that stink from Action Park came back out of the woodwork.
But that's 2014.
Yeah, this thing only shut down in 2016. It was going all that time.
What kind of regulations did they put in place in 2014? You got to think it's a totally different place. Probably 90% of the shit they were doing, they probably weren't doing. Or do you think they were still being complete maniacs?
Still maniacs.
Wow.
I still think maniacs, yeah. Now, I'm sure it was insured for real this time.
You think?
I hope so.
I would think by then they learned their lesson, but who knows? Who knows?
This story's so crazy, I would believe anything, you know?
Did you know that in 2018, they made a movie called Action Point starring Johnny Knoxville?
Johnny Knoxville put it together, yeah.
Based on Action Park.
Yeah, he plays Mulvihill, or a perverted version of Mulvihill.
I do remember the movie, kind of. He was like a good guy. He wasn't like a bad guy. He wasn't,
It's a flashback.
He meant well.
He's telling his granddaughter about the glory days of when he owned the world's best amusement park.
Yeah.
It's like all told in flashback view.
Right.
But yeah, and kind of what happened, and this is true for Mulvihill in real life, his biggest competition was Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. And he was like, well, we're going to be cheaper and we're going to be looser and faster. And that's exactly what Johnny Knoxville did in the movie.
Yeah.
And it came out right after Bad Grandpa.
Right. I remember liking the movie, but they didn't talk about 2,000 lawsuits or none of that stuff. That wasn't part of it.
No, it just showed him and like a bunch of teenagers just fucking around.
Well, we also mentioned the documentary on Max called Class Action Park, right?
Yes.
So that's, if you want to learn more about it, that's where you go. So that was a good documentary. And that's really all I got. Do you got anything else?
No, the last thing I had here was just that injuries and scars are remembered as the rites of passage, and Action Park is thought of fondly by those who grew up there as the place where the brave, cool kids hung out, and everybody wanted to be. It was the place to be.
I wanted to be one of the brave, cool kids.
I remember when I was growing up, it was always Clementon Park that showed up on my TV screen.
Yeah, I went there a lot too. That wasn't totally safe.
I've never been there, but it just seemed like a year-round carnival kind of thing. Like it was like a permanent carnival. It was a boardwalk without an ocean and boards.
Yeah, Clementon Park I've been to, and I remember there was a fun house, and it had one of those, like, it was like a ladder, and the ladder was fluid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like a swinging bridge kind of thing.
There you go. That's the best way to say it. And me and my dumb friends, we would wait till people would walk on it, and then we'd jump on it, and the kids would
Pop
launch
them up in the air.
And we were in the middle of a fun house with nobody watching what we were doing. We'd stay in there for hours fucking with kids.
Now, is this a fun house like one of those tow behind trailer kind of fun houses where it's like 2 stories?
No, it was.
It was actually a building?
Yeah, I remember being.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Who knows? It probably could have been what you're describing.
Yeah, growing up, my places were always Dorney Park and Hershey Park because they're both relatively close to us here. And then I didn't get to Disney World, which is a completely different animal, until I was 13, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones you named, they're pretty regulated.
Yeah, and now Dorney, I haven't been to Dorney probably in 20, 30 years.
I don't go to any of these anymore because I get seasick playing Indiana Jones games.
No, I still love. I've been to Hershey Park. I think I probably go once a year. I love roller coasters. I love that kind of shit.
Mm.
I never think about it being Action Park like. I don't like water parks
because you could drown.
Having said that, Hershey Park does have the Hershey Park Boardwalk. I was in a wave pool this past summer.
Well, it didn't take you out, so you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, man, it's such an 80s place, you know?
A time and place that won't ever come back.
Yeah, they can't make that again.
Too bad. We need to thin the herd a bit.
Yeah.
All right, what do you... That was a dark thing I just said. How about we move on to the news?
Yeah, let's get out of this dark place.
So, do you know who Robert Eggers is?
Yeah, he's the new director of Nosferatu.
Yeah, he's blowing up, this guy.
What else did he do, though?
He did The Watchtower. If you ever saw that, Willem Dafoe and
yes.
Guy,
Yes.
Who's that kid? Plays Batman. Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
That movie is amazing. He did The Northman, which is very good. I like it, but it's way too artsy for. It was a flop because it was just too artsy for the theater.
Yeah.
There's something else called The Witch. I haven't seen that yet. And then now this Nosferatu, and it's overperforming. It's doing great.
It's doing incredible. It opened up on Christmas Day. It stars the same guy that played Pennywise, Skarsgård.
Mm-hmm.
I again forget which one.
Bill
Skarsgård. Yes, you're right. And it's a shot-for-shot remake of the original Nosferatu from the 1920s,
which I've never seen.
You know the story behind that?
No.
Not many people have seen it because when it came out, it was a complete ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula, to the point where Bram Stoker's estate sued the directors of it, and they found that, yeah, this is because in Nosferatu, it's Count Orlok, not Count Dracula.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah. So it was a German film, and they actually, when they found that the movie was 100% in infringement of the rights of Bram Stoker, they burnt all the copies. So anything you've seen from that original Nosferatu 1920s version is ones that were smuggled out of the country before the burning happened.
I always assumed that was Dracula.
Nope, Count Orlok.
No shit.
Yep.
Okay.
But the story is identical to the point where the hero goes to sell him. He travels to Transylvania to sell him land back in the village, and he falls in love with the real estate representative's wife, and then that's the whole thing. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula. 100%.
Transylvania and everything?
Everything.
Oh, that's funny.
It's such a blatant ripoff. You talk about, games just unabashedly copying other games. This was unabashedly just ripping off the story, changing a few of the names, and there you go.
The world wasn't so global then. They never thought they'd get caught.
In fact, that silent movie, that 1920 silent movie, Nosferatu, most of the ones that came here, you could tell which version you were seeing and where it came from because like the title cards that would come up, because it was a silent movie, so they would have like the language cards, the script cards, I guess you call them. The one that most people here in the United States saw had an opening card that was in German.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to watch this movie.
Yeah. Now, I hear it's a shot-for-shot remake. If they took liberties, I don't know that I know the original enough to know the difference.
Why would you do a shot for shot? Remember Psycho?
Yeah.
Got re-released by the guy that did Good Will Hunting.
Yep.
Shot for shot remake. Why do that?
I don't know. Musicians do it too.
Cover bands?
Not really. Like that guy from Train, he was remaking songs. And what's his name? Daryl Hall does that shit too, where he just takes somebody else's song and just sings it because he thinks he can do it better.
Yeah, I don't get that.
No.
So I do play in a cover band, and one of the things that we do is we infuse our own additions. I don't play their guitar solos, I play my own.
Right.
If I had to play somebody else's guitar solos every single night, I'd be bored out of my mind.
Just listen to the jukebox at that point.
Yeah. You got a perfectly good radio, plugged into the bar, just play that.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Shot for shot. Anyway, so this guy, now he's a big name. Everybody's like, this is the new darling in Hollywood, whatever is left of Hollywood. Rumor is he's going to be working on a new Labyrinth movie.
I don't know if I like that.
I don't know either. They say they're not sure it's going to be a remake or a sequel. It might just be something in that world. But that is such a Henson thing.
Yeah. I'm almost more offended, not from a Henson thing, but from a David Bowie thing.
Yeah, evidently he's going to be using, oh, damn it, I didn't write this down, but, he's got a cast of actors that he likes to work with.
Sure.
So there's some speculation that one of his cast of actors is going to play that role.
Well, they're not David Bowie.
They're not there. Yeah, who's going to do that? Who's going to do that well? This sounds like a disaster. I mean, I don't want to see this. It's another movie that they're just like, there's no reason to remake this, but they're going to remake it because they got the license. And I thought it belonged to Henson. And now that he's gone, I thought it would still belong to his estate.
Henson Productions is still a thing. They're still doing Muppets. They're still doing creatures and characters for other movies. Sesame Street still gets their things from Henson Studios. So maybe Henson Studios is involved, but it's not Jim Henson.
Right. Oh, see, if Henson Studios is involved, maybe I'm more interested.
But who's a modern day David Bowie?
Paul Rudd.
But he's not a musician. Like part of Labyrinth was a musical.
I just like to say Paul Rudd.
He could do everything.
He could do everything. Paul Rudd.
Wow. Well, he couldn't save Ghostbusters.
Well, hopefully this is from the rumor mill, so hopefully it isn't going to happen. But
after his shot-for-shot remake of Nosferatu, he's going to do a shot-for-shot remake of Labyrinth.
Yeah, well, he says it is on the list of things he wants to do. The Night, a Western, and a Rasputin miniseries is also on his list of things to do.
Rasputin, he's an interesting historical character.
I don't know anything about him.
Maybe on an upcoming episode, I'll do a Rasputin.
I know he was a coxman.
Yes, he was. He was also a mystic, but he was also a charlatan.
That's everything I like. Do you like a Charlie Brown Christmas?
Nope.
Well, either did the executives of the network that put this thing out. So evidently they were making this Charlie Brown thing. They were going to put it out there like everyone's going to love it. And the executives were like, no, we don't like anything about this. The pacing is too slow. There's no laugh track. And Linus is reading a Bible.
The whole thing is I don't like anything that takes like secular Christmas and mashes it up with religious Christmas, and yeah, it's just not great.
I think it's the only thing I've ever seen that really did that. From all the kid stuff, the Christmas kid stuff, I remember thinking only Snoopy, this episode, ever talked about the Bible. You never hear about the Bible.
I kind of remember there being a really weird Garfield Christmas special when I was a kid that got kind of biblical. It was like following a stuffed camel that was going to the nativity, and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
I have no memory of that.
Yeah. That could have been a fever dream. I don't know.
It says the creators, Charles Schultz and Bill Melendez, insisted on keeping these elements, talking about the religious aspects and all that, to preserve the story's integrity. Despite network concerns, the special resonated with audience and critics, receiving high ratings and an Emmy award. I'm always thinking about these things that are put out when the executives, because these TV executives are like movie producers.
Sure.
They're like, we got the money. We may not be that creative, but we got the money, and we're going to sometimes get in the way of what you're doing. This was an example of where they almost got in the way. We never got the Christmas holiday special from Snoopy.
Yeah. Did you watch any Christmas specials this year?
No.
No?
No, you know how I am with Christmas. I can't wait for it to be over. I don't want to prolong my agony.
No, I watched a few. I watched that Red One.
Oh, you know what? I did watch part of that.
Did you?
I lasted 20 minutes.
It wasn't great.
No.
I watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
It's great.
I've
seen it enough. I don't need to go back to the well, but if it's on TV, I might sit and look at it.
I watched White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye.
Never saw it.
Yeah, it's an old one. I watched A Christmas Story.
Okay, that's always on.
Always on. I couldn't not watch it, right? But I also watched that new Jason Bateman movie on Netflix. Carry On, it's called.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a Christmas movie.
No.
No, it's like they try to do a Die Hard.
Oh, I didn't even know it was Christmas themed at all.
Yeah. They're traveling. They're trying to get a bomb on an airplane during Christmas. Remember that movie with Colin Farrell where he was stuck in a phone booth?
Yeah.
It was called Phone Booth?
Yeah.
And they tried to make him look like he was the bad guy?
Right.
It's that smashed up against Die Hard 2. The only thing it was missing, it didn't have the charm of Reginald VelJohnson.
No, it needs him.
Yes.
Urkel's dad.
No, Urkel's neighbor.
Oh, I thought he was the father.
No, he was the father of the daughter that Urkel wanted to bang.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Did I do that?
Right. He wasn't one of the actual kids. He was just
He wasn't even the original cast. It was his Family Matters, which was a spinoff of Perfect Strangers.
Man, you're good. I was just thinking about, talk about executives getting involved. Remember, this could be a topic we actually cover one day. The very special episodes of.
Yeah.
How dark some of those got.
Sure.
I mean, some of them were like incest, some of them were suicide.
Yeah.
Did the executives ever go, no, this is a little too heavy duty? Like, these things still snuck through.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
They were intense, some of those things.
Whew.
But executives are like, yeah, let that one fly. But no, not Snoopy. Can't put that one out. It's just crazy to me. Like, who's making these decisions? Who are these executives? What do they know? What do they actually know?
So I was thinking about this while I was watching all these Christmas movies, and I listened back to our Hallmark episode from last week. And it kind of ties in here to Schultz and Melendez. We make fun of Hallmark and how bad Hallmark is, but at least they know who their audience is. They really do cater hard to that audience, and they are successful. They know who they're making these movies for. I think a lot of the problem we're having with these movies and these shows we talk about on here, who are they being made for? We talked about Skeleton Crew. Who are they making this for? At least they know who their audience is.
Yeah, it's a great point.
I felt while watching some of these Christmas movies and listening back to last week's show, I really can't find fault in that.
It's like this What If show. Who are they making this for?
I have no idea.
I mean, it seems to be for like only the super hardcore fan who cares about some of these, side quests.
What If is almost a matter of, hey, here's all the cool things we could do, but we don't have the balls to do in a real movie. So we're going to draw this up and get some voice actors and see if any of this sticks. If you think about it, season 2 of this is actually how we finally ended up with Marvel Zombies, because people liked it enough to actually want more of it.
When's that coming out?
I don't know. February, I think. But nobody's clamoring for more Hollywood, Bollywood, Agatha, Eternals bullshit.
No, I'm not even clamoring for any more Agatha.
True.
But what I am clamoring for more of is Deadpool. I watched that again yesterday, Deadpool and Wolverine.
I watched it again.
So much fun.
Yeah.
But segueing into a story, I'm always interested to know the money people make in Hollywood.
Sure.
All right. Talking about Tim Miller, he's coming up again. I guess he's hot. He's doing press because he's got that first level. What's that thing called? The Pac-Man cartoon?
Secret level.
Yeah. So they're talking to him. Deadpool director Tim Miller says he got paid. How much do you think he got paid to make the Deadpool movie, the first Deadpool movie? His first directing role. So
not a lot, because going back to us having the same news feed, I think his agent said, you get more money for shooting an episode of Walking Dead than what you're getting paid for the entire movie of Deadpool.
$225,000 is all he got paid for that. That blew me away.
And that still sounds like a lot of money to me.
It is a lot of money, but when you're directing a movie that big, that's all you got. Plus, you probably live in Hollywood, which means you don't live in, you're probably living in your car for that kind of money.
But he wasn't hugely established as a great director up to that point.
No, but it was such a hit. Like, he signed the deal just to do the movie. He didn't get back-end points. He didn't get merchandise.
Yeah.
He's got a great attitude about it, though. He says, I think a lot of people think that everyone's getting paid millions and millions in Hollywood, which is what I said.
Yeah.
He goes, it's just not the case. Not always. I don't want to sound like I wasn't grateful because I had worked. I was 50 when I got a chance to direct Deadpool, and I really thought I wasn't going to get a chance to direct a movie, even though I'd wanted to my whole life.
Yeah.
So he's looking at it, in a great way. Like,
it was a bucket list thing he did, and it really opened up great doors for him moving forward.
Yeah, but I just can't believe that's how little it was. Because I'm one of those suckers that believe everybody's making millions and billions of dollars in Hollywood.
How long do you think it took to produce that movie?
Well, it said for 2 years.
2 years?
That's all he got paid for 2 years. That's the money that he got for 2 years.
Yeah, it's almost $250,000 though.
He's probably focusing on he's probably got other paychecks coming from other things. There's no way that's all he was doing.
Right.
He's the guy, his special effects company is the one that came up with Sonic. Remember the ugly Sonic?
With the teeth?
Yeah, he was part of that.
Got those teeth out of Action Park's Gravity Loop or Cannonball Loop.
But that franchise is still kicking it. I mean, I saw they're making a part 3. I just saw a trailer for it. Oh, it's already out in the theaters?
People love it.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey came back. They have Keanu Reeves voicing Shadow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Idris Elba came back.
Idris Elba?
Whatever his name is. What'd I call him?
I don't know. I just know I always get it wrong.
Yeah, okay. Him. He's
him.
back.
Yeah, that thing's killing it. So it's a great story. You didn't get paid great for the first blockbuster you did. You should have. You probably could have made a better deal. But look, now you're making Sonic movies.
They even had to fight to get Deadpool greenlit. Ryan Reynolds really put his ass on the line for that.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, yeah, you can make it. Here's $225,000 for a director. Go find who you can get.
Well, him and Ryan Reynolds had a falling out. That's why Tim Miller doesn't make any more of these movies.
Really?
Yeah.
So I think hindsight, looking back, maybe it was about money. You can look back on it now and be like, oh, that was a bad deal. But he would have got paid $225,000 if that movie would have been a shit. It would have been a big turd.
Oh, well, I don't know. It's tacky to talk about what people make, but I'm tacky. All right, let's talk a little Star Wars.
Okay.
So Luke Skywalker had an original name.
Yeah, Starkiller.
Starkiller. Let's talk about this. 47 years after the release of the first Star Wars movie, Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill, has explained why George Lucas changed the character's name into the iconic version that it is today. It's a well-known fact that Luke's name in the original Star Wars, later retitled A New Hope, was actually Luke Starkiller, a much more aggressive version of the heroic surname that has come to define the Star Wars episodic saga. Over the years, the reasoning for this change has been explained in places, but Hamill himself has now provided his own explanation. He says, when I read the screenplay, which, by the way, was called The Adventures of Luke Starkiller, that's taken from the Journal of the Whills, Saga number 1, The Star Wars, and my name was Luke Starkiller, that I read on the call sheet. That's a fun sentence. That's
a lot of words.
That I read on the call sheet. When I rescued the princess, I had filmed it. She said, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? And I go, what? Oh, the helmet? I take the helmet off. I'm Luke Starkiller. I'm here to rescue you. So we had filmed that, and I got the call sheet, and I saw that scene was on there again. I said, what's up with that? They said, oh, well, they've changed your name. I said, to what? And they said, to Skywalker. I said, Skywalker? Oh, my God, like fire. What does that mean? Oh, my God, like fire.
Kids say fire as something good now, right?
You think that's what
Mark Hamill talking like a kid? Millennial?
I don't know. So that's interesting. He just kind of goes to work. This gives me insight into how they're making movies. Like, he doesn't even know what's next. He goes and sees the call sheet that he's got to redo a scene that he just did.
Sure.
Like, why? Oh, okay. I guess I just do it. I mean, that's really the assembly line procedure of making a movie.
This was not the end of the Starkiller name.
Right. It happened twice, I think.
They came out in 98, 99 with The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2 video games,
Right.
where Darth Vader's secret apprentice was Starkiller.
What was his first name?
I don't remember. He was powerful enough to pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky.
Those games were fun.
They were.
That was over the top.
It was a little bit much, yes.
What was his name? I think it was Ernie. Ernie
Starkiller.
Ernie Starkiller. Hey, Bert. But then they also used it against Starkiller Base, right?
Starkiller Base was the Death Star version in the First Order in
Force
Part
Awakens.
7. Force Awakens, that's
Yeah.
right.
Starkiller was a cool name, but I often thought it was a little bit aggressive.
It's a bad guy's name, not,
It's a
not
bad
the hero's
guy's name.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now we know.
It's like fire.
Just like fire.
It's like fire, whatever the fuck that means. All right, here's my final story. Everybody's a Seinfeld fan.
Yes.
Everybody knows what Festivus is now.
The 23rd of December every year. Aluminum pole, airing of the grievances,
Yeah,
feats of strength.
you got it. All right. So do you know who Kevin McDonald is?
I know the name, but I couldn't place him.
So Kevin McDonald, a member of the Kids in the Hall,
Oh, yeah, I see him. Yeah.
guest starred on Seinfeld in the episode The Strike, which introduced the holiday Festivus. He portrayed the character Denim Vest, a man who receives a fake phone number from Elaine. I barely remember this episode.
I do remember this very well now.
According to Seinfeld writer and producer Jeff Schaefer, the Denim Vest character was inspired by all Canadians everywhere.
The Canadian tuxedo.
So it was only fitting that he be played by a member of Canada's legendary sketch troupe. Were you a Kids in the Hall fan?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, I was too. That was a good show. But McDonald's comedy credentials didn't seem to mean much to Jerry Seinfeld. So this is an article from Collider.
Okay.
During filming, Seinfeld mistakenly referred to McDonald as Dave, confusing him with fellow Kids in the Hall member Dave Foley.
Dave Foley, yeah.
He was the more famous one that apparently Seinfeld wanted, but he got the other Kids in the Hall guy. During the filming of the scene in which Denim Vest runs into a steam-soaked Elaine on the street, he ends up giving her a fake number as a result. Oh, she gives him a fake number as a result. Seinfeld, who from McDonald's perspective was pretty much directing the episode, attempted to rewrite McDonald's final line on the spot. So McDonald says 2 of the writers were with him and he wasn't happy with the joke. So him and the 2 writers started spritzing jokes, McDonald told the AV Club in 2010. As a comedy writer and performer who was used to collaborative environments, McDonald naturally made his own suggestion.
Of course.
I just flashed back to the Kids in the Hall days when we'd be all on like this, where it was a commercial kind of thing. So without thinking, I offered one up. Yeah, that was a mistake. And all of a sudden, it was like a Western movie where someone walks into a saloon and everyone goes quiet.
The standoff, record scratch.
Yeah. McDonald's explained, I keep saying McDonald's because I'm hungry. McDonald explains, it was a stunned silence. Then Jerry Seinfeld turned around and looked at me and said, no.
Nice try, asshole.
And then he turned back to his writers and they kept spritzing jokes. I realized I had overstepped my bounds and I didn't mean to. I had just gotten caught up in the comedy river of it. We were all swimming in the comedy river, but I understand.
He drowned.
He
He was
drowned.
in the action park comedy river.
I just love it. It's like, no, you're just a hired guest. You get no say in this. That
Oh,
sucks.
that
That
du-
sucks.
That complete deafening silence where you can just feel all the energy get sucked out of the room and all the attention go to you. Like, I've been there.
I wonder what it was like to work for Seinfeld because he's pretty hardcore.
I could
Pretty
see
hardcore
him
guy.
be a prick.
I could see him be a prick too. It basically sounds like McDonald was not saying he was a prick, but also saying he was a prick.
Yeah, when you said the name and then you said Kids in the Hall, I was like, oh, his face just immediately popped into my head.
Yeah. I want to go back and watch those episodes.
Did you watch the new season that they came out with on Netflix?
I didn't even know they did.
Yeah, I think they did 2 seasons on Netflix here.
When?
Last year before?
No.
I watched them.
I didn't catch any of that.
I think we talked about them on here.
Well, that's not off brand for me to completely forget what we talked about.
Yeah, check them out.
Well, I like insider stories like that. I like the dirt, and it was Festivus themed, and
I can't remember what the joke would have been, though, but
yeah, I don't know.
damn.
I was hoping you'd remember that. The way that your
No.
memory works, I thought maybe you'd have, might have been able to.
Everything from that Festivus episode, I just remember George and his dad.
Yeah, that's kind of all I remember too.
Remember he handed out, like, for his office Christmas gift, he would hand out cards that said a donation has been made in your honor for the human fund.
Yeah.
They thought there was no human fund.
Yeah.
And he had to come clean about Festivus and why he, this goes against my religious beliefs.
Right. Such a good show.
It was great. It was great.
Well, that's everything I got.
Well, Happy New Year, man.
Yeah, that's happening in a couple days. I don't even know what day it is.
Tuesday night, they'll drop the ball.
All right. I'll be heading to Charlotte for a couple days. Not Charlotte. Yeah.
No, that's North Carolina.
Charleston. So we'll have to find some time to record to get this next episode out.
Yeah. Or maybe you won't hear us at all. We'll see.
I was going to say, if you're going, where's the next episode? I'm still in Charleston.
But if that happens, go back and watch an old one. Tell a friend. Keep growing this audience. Thanks for listening this week, and Happy New Year.
Well done. Well done.
As always, stupid, yet strangely satisfying. And we will see you all next week. Maybe.
Maybe.